inutil, mga walang silbi. Dapat i-abolish yung ICI na yan, mga gunggong. Ganyan talaga kagalit. Ito si Rowena Guanzon, mga kababayan. Matapos niyang mabalitaan, naggagawing state witness. Ito si Tambaloslos, mga kababayan. Adios, adios, adios. Kung sino pa yung parang leader ng mafia, mga kababayan, siya pa ang mag-i-state witness, Lord. Kaya ang sabi ni Rowena Guanzon, isa itong malaking lokohan. Dapat i-abolish na daw yung ICI, mga kababayan, dahil pakawala lang din yan ni Marcos, mga kababayan eh. Gawa-gawa ni Marcos para malusutan ang kanilang ginagawang mga anomalya, mga kababayan. Diyos ko, Lord. Panoorin niyo po, ha?
Dapat i-abolish na lang yung ICI na yan.
Talaga. Ang ginagawa ngayon, mga kababayan, parang wina-whitewash pa si Tamba. Hinuhugasan ang Tambaloslos, mga kababayan. Ay, Diyos ko.
Mga inutil.
Mga inutil.
Wala daw silang makita.
Walang nakita, mga kababayan, no? Naghahanap pa rin hanggang ngayon, mga kababayan, kung sino ang kawatan. Bangag! Anong kabangagan na naman ba ito, mga kababayan? Handyan na sa kanilang harapan. Nanumpa na nga, mga kababayan, Diyos ko. Tapos wala pa rin silang nahanap.
Ang mukha nyo na. Kakagatin na kayo.
Oh, kakagatin na kayo ng buhaya.
Wala pa rin kayo makita. Kasi yung utos sa inyo ni BBM, si Saldi ko lang.
Isa lang daw, mga kababayan. Grabe naman si Zaldico, no? Yun lang ang mga kababayan, ididiin nila para silang lahat, mga kababayan na nakinabang, ligtas na. Tapos si Zaldico, ayaw nilang pauwiin ng mga kababayan. Ano to, lokohan?
Kasuhan nyo.
Mm.
Di nyo pwedeng kasuhan ng pinsan niya si Martin Luther King.
Martin Luther.
Also known as
Si Bastipan, tawag niya Tintin. Martin Tin.
Kim Bonjing.
Kim Bonjong. Kim Bonjing.
You think we're stupid?
Yan o, mga kababayan, no? Ulol ba, mga kababayan, tong mga ungas na to na akala nila ganyan lang, mga kababayan, ang utak ng sambayan ng Pilipino. Maniniwala sa kanilang mga bogus, mga kababayan. Diyos ko, sila lang ang naniniwala na effective daw, mga kababayan, ang kanilang escape plan, Diyos ko, Lord. Ayusin nyo naman. Kabangagan.
What kind of investigation are you doing there?
Oh.
When the people have lost trust in your independence?
Wala pa nga nakasuhan na isa. Lumayas na si Bagalong.
You're useless.
Useless. Oh.
That's why all this
Inutil na, di ba? Useless.
other, independent,
Na-high blood na si Banda, mga kababayan.
legal experts have refused. Such as former Ombudsman Justice Carpio Morales.
Ayaw din namin yun.
They know that this
Nag-refuse
ICI
ba siya?
is just
O hindi naman inalok, mga kababayan?
cosmetic.
Si BBM lang din ang
Come
nagtatag
on,
niyan, di ba?
BBM. Why did
At
you
talagang a big joke, mga kababayan, ha? Si Tambaloslos pa ang state witness, Diyos ko, Lord. Siya na nga ang number 1 suspect.
all of a sudden wake up from your comfortable slumber?
Oh, mga kababayan, no? Si BBM 3 taon ang nagpariwara, mga kababayan. Naging complacent. Nagpapakasarap lang. Travel dito, apulakbay doon, o ganyan-ganyan. Walang ginawa. And then biglang nagising. 3 years after, and then namulat. Namulat nga ba? O, strategy, mga kababayan. Na ngayon pa lang, dapat, kunwari, lalabanan natin ang kurakutan. Dahil grabe ng gold rush nila for the past 3 years, mga kababayan. Mahirap nang later on pa, yung papunta na kami sa pababa. Pagka 6th year na, mga kababayan, dahil wala na. Lalo tayong makukulong yan. Ngayon, mga kababayan, kung mayroon mang kaso-kaso ganyan, si Tambaloslos, i-a-acquit yan. Na ang mangyayari, mga kababayan, hindi na siya pwede kasuhan sa 2028 dahil double jeopardy na. Mga animal na to.
After 3 years to make public these ghost projects. Why? Because of the US State Department report. And I'm sure other creditors will be
Pati Korea, South Korea, mga kababayan, sinabi na grabing corruption sa Pilipinas. Ang US State Department, pervasive. Grabe talaga. Mga kababayan, description, pervasive corruption.
making comments soon. Utang
Malawakang
ka
korupsyon.
ng utang, BBM.
Utang ka ng utang na ina mo.
Utang na loob.
Utang na ina mong ngag-ngag ka.
Tapos kinukurakot lang ninyo
Oh.
ng pinsan mo.
Tsaka ano pa, mga tauhan niya.
Huwag ka maghugas ng kamay na hindi ka kasali dito, BBM. Dahil ikaw ang nagpirma. Budget
Talaga.
mo yun. Ang
Budget mo yan,
2025
tanga.
budget na puno ng
Insertion.
padding ng paldo na.
Paldong-paldo mga kababayan ng mga animal. Yan sa dami nilang nanakaw siguro mga kababayan. Kahit pa ngayon, magkukunwari silang malinis. Wala nang nakawan pero busog na sila mga kababayan. Wala nang pagsidlan. Mali-malit lang pera.
Ng
Lord.
lahat ng ghost projects at infra na
Gold rush lahat.
kahayupan nyo.
Mm.
Mga congressman at congresswoman na mga ganid kayo. Ginamit nyo ang
Hudas.
General Appropriations Act ng 2020.
Grabe no? Grabe. Girapalan mga kababayan. Harap-harapan tayong ninanakawan ng mga yawa. Ng mabwisit. Ng mga jablo. Ng mga impacto.
Dahil election, mag-i-election. Kasi ambisyon ni Martin Luther King.
Kim Bunjing.
Control ang mga congressman, ang mga district, ang mga party list para sa 2028 election na siya ang tatakbo na presidente.
Ngayon, ano lang plano nila? Pag doon sabihin mga kababay, tutuloy pa rin ni Kim Bunjing sa pagtakbo sa 2028. Kahit pa siguro hindi siya nag-resign mga kababay, hindi pa rin yan mananalo. Sobrang bantot eh.
Kaya wag mo na kaming
Kagaya ng ano na naman, i-disqualify nila mga kababayan. Example, kapag mananalo, kagaya ni Abante mga kababayan, i-disqualify ang number 1. Tapos siya ang kasunod. O kung may number 2, i-disqualify. Tapos siya ang iupo na kumelect na si George Garcia.
tukuhin, BBM.
Mm.
Kaya abolish mo na yung ICI mo. Gumawa ka ng komisyon na
Siya na lang ang i-abolish mga kababayan, palayasin, iparesign. Wala pa tutunguhan ito mga kababayan hanggat nandyan si Bangag.
paniwalaan ng tao.
Resign, BBM, resign. Sabi nga ni Sara Duterte mga kababayan, si VP Inday, hindi daw magre-resign. Pero tayo mga kababayan, hindi tayo Huwag kayong magsawang magsabing Bangag resign, BBM resign. Dahil mapapabukhan natin sa kanila mga kababayan na ayaw na natin sa kanila. Yan ang safe na panawagan mga kababayan dahil alam nyo na baka kapag ang panawagan ninyo ikudita, i-oust, sipain o ganyan by force, baka kasuhan kayo ng inciting to sedition. Kaya Marcos resign mga kababayan ang safe na panawagan. Pero alam nyo na, ayaw na natin kingagba.
Kung baka nilagay mo dyan, wala yan. Tuta mo lahat yan.
Tuta. Puti ang Senate President Tuta.
Attorney Nicholas Kaufman, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ay nako si Kaufman. Kaufman!
How are you today?
I'm well,
Ano
thank you.
na?
So is the former president, of course,
Thank you, Attorney.
more importantly.
Anong nangyari sa interim release mo? Di bali mga kababayan, di bali. Parang nabigyan tayo ng kaunting liwanag na mga kababayan Dahil itong appeal chamber mga kababayan, itong sila motion for reconsideration, iba ang nag-handle Aside doon sa tatlo mga kababayan, binaliktad. Itong kay Karim Khan. So, nagkaroon tayo ng mga kababayan, another chance na baka dito sa kanilang motion mga kababayan, sa appeal chamber, baka mapagbigyan ng interim release si PRRD. Dahil yung sa kaso ni Karim Khan, yung kalbo mga kababayan, ang sabi ng tatlong hudas mga kababayan, yung tatlong babae, ang sabi nila, hindi yan disqualify. Tuloy ang kalbo. Yung manyakis mga kababayan na kalbo. Sabi ng tatlo tapos inapila ni Kaufman mga kababayan pagdating sa appeal chamber. 5 mga kababayan na taga-ICC na justices ang in charge doon. Unanimous sila mga kababayan na disqualified ito. So ibig sabihin ang tatlong gonggong na to mga kababayan, halata na masyado. Unanimous ang 5 sa appeal na disqualified yan. Pero bakit itong tatlong ugok? Sabi hindi daw disqualified. So atong tatlo mga kababayan, bias na talaga. Baka busog na rin iyan mga kababayan. Baka nabili na.
Attorney, the pretrial chamber 1 recently rejected the renewed request for interim release, which you described as erroneous.
Eto mga kababayan. So, dito, nabigyan tayo ng pag-asa. Tinawag niya erroneous dahil ang tatlo yung nag-decide mga kababayan na walang interim release. So, inapilan niya mga kababayan. Ongoing pa yan. Sana nga mabaliktad yung desisyon ng tatlo. Erroneous mga kababayan, meaning may mali, hindi tama ang desisyon ng tatlong bugok na kababayan na babaeng taga-ICC na nag-handle kay PRRD na kaso.
Could you exemplify what makes the decision, in your view, legally and procedurally flawed?
Flawed!
When I describe a decision as being erroneous, I'm using legal ease. It's a term that we have to use if we're going to make an appeal, because appeals are decided on the basis of errors of law and errors of fact. So we have identified what we believe to be a number of errors of law and fact in the decision on interim release.
See? At yun talagang kay Karim Khan, mga kababayan. Yung desisyon na iyon, nasa appeal, 5, unanimous, mga kababayan. Sinabing, mali ang desisyon ng tatlong judges nag-handle doon, mga kababayan, kay Tatay Digong. Sana, eto mga kababayan, sa interim release si PRRD, ganoon din sana. Kahit 3 lang doon, mga kababayan, sa appeal. 2 ang hindi papayag, 3 makakalaya si Tatay Digong, mga kababayan.
We've filed our notice of appeal, and today we've filed our brief in which we give our reasons for these alleged errors. Now,
Errors,
I'm not allowed to
erroneous.
obviously
Puno ng
detail
kabalian.
those errors because the document has been filed confidentially.
Attorney, do you believe that the pretrial chamber 1 failed to properly consider all or any of the key arguments or evidences presented by the defense?
As I said, I've raised a number of issues on appeal, one of which is the failure to properly consider the very stringent conditions of release, which were proffered by a state party. I'm not going to tell you which state party that is.
Wag na. Gamitin na naman niyang ebidensya na hindi makalabas si Tatay Digong.
But we believe that the first instance chamber, the pre-trial chamber, should have taken these things under consideration and give a better weight to them. We believe that that was an error. But once again, I don't want to get drawn
Erroneous.
too much on the exact nature of the appeal. I'm not allowed to detail it.
Attorney Nick, the pretrial chamber 1 in its decision has taken into account the public statement made by Vice President Sara Duterte. Do you consider this a form of injustice or a breach of judicial impartiality?
I don't want to comment on that, but some of the statements that were made by the Vice President were clearly made in jest. I mean, there was this comment about organizing a jailbreak.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh at that, quite frankly. Everybody who hears that knows that it was a joke. No one can really seriously believe that the Vice President of a sovereign nation would organize a jailbreak from a place like this. I mean, come on, let's be real about this.
Because, Attorney, I was there when the Vice President made those statements.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you understood it as a joke just like everybody else.
Exactly, Attorney. Attorney Nick, in what ways might this inclusion of such statements influence directly or indirectly or prejudice the pretrial chamber 1's decision-making processes?
Well, I think that excessive comments on the judicial activity is not something that should be encouraged. The judges of the International Criminal Court have a job to perform, just as counsel have a job to perform, and they shouldn't have their every act scrutinized in the media. Once again, I give the judges the credit of performing their duty as is expected, and I hope to convince them now on appeal that the former president should be released.
Attorney, in what ways should we take into account the timeline for the court to make or to render judgment to the appeal that you have submitted?
You mean a judgment on
the
interim release,
yes.
on appeal? Well, once again, the liberty of the individual, interim release, is a fundamental right. Obviously, that right can be curtailed if the judges find that there is cause to curtail that right. And the curtailment of that right is founded normally on 3 factors, one of which is the risk of flight, one being the risk of interference with witnesses, and the final one being the risk of continuing commission of crimes. But as I said, it's a fundamental right which should be decided speedily, expeditiously, and I anticipate that once the pre-trial chamber has received all the submissions, obviously the prosecution will have to respond to our appeal, and also the victims will be given the opportunity to respond to our appeal. I anticipate that a decision should be rendered within the month.
Within a month, okay. Attorney, while the appeal on the appeals chamber's decision, on the pretrial chamber 1's decision is still pending, are all related motions filed by the defense being reviewed simultaneously?
What do you mean by all other motions?
I mean, like, obviously there's a decision by the appeals chamber with respect to the motion you submitted to disqualify the chief prosecutor Khan, but all of the other pending motion, indefinite adjournment, jurisdictional challenge, And
Yes, all of those matters are still live and active, and the appeals process on interim release does not impact on the timeline or the schedule for deciding other matters. In fact, we are busy, as you know, at the moment, litigating the issue of competency, fitness to stand trial.
yeah.
I'm not at liberty to tell you exactly what's happening there, because once again, much of the information is subject to confidentiality. And I should like to stress that also in the matters relating to the former prosecutor, sorry, he's not the former prosecutor, he's still a prosecutor. Obviously, he's taken himself out on suspension. However, a decision on our request to disqualify him is, to the best of my knowledge, still subject to confidentiality.
Attorney, on that particular note, do you think that there is a reason to think otherwise, that the ICC handled all of the processes or the motions that the defense submitted with sufficient fairness and transparency?
I don't want to pass judgment on the ICC judges. It's not my position to do so. They have a job to perform. I have a job to perform. They make their decisions. If I believe that these decisions are erroneous, and I've told you that that is legalese, then I file an appeal, and then the judges on appeal decide.
Attorney Nick, on a different matter, several civil society organizations have welcomed the pretrial chamber's once decision, expressing relief over the denial of the former president's interim release. How does the defense team respond to this public sentiment?
Well, I'm not going to criticize victims. It would be foolhardy for me to do so. I do criticize, however, the comments made by certain civil society activists, masquerading as lawyers sometimes, in the media, criticizing defense submissions, criticizing defense activity, criticizing decisions rendered either in favor of the defense or against the prosecution, whatever you have it. So the criticism, or can I put it, the relief, as you put it, expressed over the rejection of the former president's request for interim release, I believe to be misplaced. Once again, there are many things that I could talk about which offend me. Many things said by civil society activists, which I choose not to comment on.
Attorney, do you think that these reactions reflect a misunderstanding of the legal process, or do they reveal, rather, deeper political or emotional divides within and outside the Philippines?
Well, let me talk about outside the Philippines first of all, because wherever I go in the world, and I travel a lot, I have always been met with support, wholehearted support for the former president. I have not come across one person who has said, we don't want the president to come home. Everybody wants him to come back to the Philippines. So when you talk about dissent, there's certainly no dissent in the diaspora. Not at any rate, dissent that I've noticed. So I don't think that the criticism reveals anything too much. It just reveals the thoughts and impressions of a minority of civil society activists.
Attorney Nick, some detractors have criticized your handling of the case, suggesting that the Duterte family should consider appointing a new lead counsel. How do you respond to these criticisms?
Well, I know who those detractors are. A minority of people, a very vocal minority of people. At the end of the day, I'm not a magician. I'm doing my job. I'm doing the best I can. And furthermore, the former president is happy with me. And at the time that he should become unhappy with the way I'm performing, then he knows that he can fire me.
Attorney, what would you have to say to those who believe the defense strategy has not been effective so far, and how do you intend to strengthen your legal approach moving forward?
Well, it depends how you define success. If you define success in the matter of interim release, well, okay, we still have an appeal pending, and that's the only thing we've been unsuccessful with to date. The matter of competency is still pending. The matter of jurisdiction is still pending. Obviously, we've had a few requests to disqualify judges dismissed. I can't tell you what has happened with respect to the decision on the former the current prosecutor who's now suspended. Maybe that will be released soon. I don't know.
Attorney Nick, just a quick moment. or question with regards to the decision to disqualify the chief prosecutor can, does it have any effect at all, if at all, to the case of the former president before the ICC?
Once again, I can't comment on a decision because I don't know whether that decision has been made public or not. I can only tell you what I argued. What I argued was that the former prosecutor, I keep on saying the former prosecutor, it's the current prosecutor, current chief prosecutor, who has suspended himself. What I argued was that being conflicted, as I argued that he was, he couldn't have carried out an independent investigation which requires the search for exculpatory evidence. What is exculpatory evidence? That's evidence which can be used to acquit the former president. You see, the Office of the Prosecutor has resources that the defense doesn't have. And the Rome Statute, which is the constitution of the court, obliges the prosecutor to look for the truth. And by looking for the truth, he also has to consider exculpatory evidence. So what we argued was that having a prosecutor who formerly represented victims suddenly changing sides and becoming the prosecutor, he can't really carry out his role as the prosecutor as should be expected. So effectively, the investigation was contaminated. When he represented those victims, it was back in 2018. When the arrest warrant was issued, it was 2025. He became prosecutor in 2021, 2022. So 3 or 4 years went by when he was supervising the investigation against the former president, yet not disclosing the fact that he'd formerly represented victims.
What?
As I said, I can't comment on any decision that might have been rendered.
Just really one question in that regard. Would it be fair to say that because the appeals chamber decided that to disqualify him from further involvement, that all of this development in the case can be characterized as the fruit of a poisonous tree? That
Alvin, I can't comment on that. As I've told you, I
Sorry.
don't know what the decision to release or not to release this information is at the present moment in time. I've been in a prison today.
okay? Sorry
I
about
can't
that.
tell you if there's a public decision on the matter or not.
Okay, I'm sorry
For all
about
intents
that.
and purposes, I don't know what the decision is, and I can't tell you what the decision is.
Attorney, one last question. Do you have a message to convey to the Filipino people closely monitoring the case of the former president?
Yes, I do. Be strong, hope for the best, and trust us to do the very best for the former president.
Thank you
We're
so
working hard. We've made an appeal. We hope that he will be released and that he will continue to follow the case, continue to participate in the case, continue to allow his lawyers to prove his innocence. And all this, not from the Philippines, but from a third-party state country, a state party to the Rome Statute.
Thank you, Attorney.
Umarap na po si Tambaluslos dyan sa ICI na yan, na tingin ko naman inutil, no? Inutil yan dahil alam naman natin na yan ay palamuti lang ni Marcos Jr. para sabihin na meron talaga akong ginagawa dyan sa issue ng korupsyon. Pero sa totoo lang, wala na makapangyarihan yan. Wala yung power to subpoena, walang kahit ano. So, wala. Ano lang yan? Sisipot lang yung mga tao dyan. Kunwari nagkaroon investigasyon, tapos hindi naka-broadcast, so hindi natin alam kung ano mga sinasabi ng mga pinapatawag nila. So in the end, yan, lumalabas na ang magiging finding. Wala pa silang nahahanap na taong gobyerno na po pwedeng makasuhan. No? So yan na po ang kumbaga preview ng mangyayari dyan sa ICI na yan. Pero nakakaintriga, sumipot si Tambaluslos. May daladalang abogado galing dun sa The Firm. At alam niyo naman, matinik naman yan The Firm na yan. Isa sa pinakamalaki at isa sa pinaka-influential na law firm dito sa ating bayan. No? At obviously, kumuha na ng abogado to si Tambaluslos at naghahanda na sa isang legal battle dahil alam niya marami siyang kasong harapin. At lumutang ang pagiging state witness ni Tambaluslos. Ibig sabihin, siya ay willing na magsalita kapalit ng hindi siya mapaparusahan. Now, syempre maraming mga hindi ata po pwede yan na nakinabang ka na husto sa pangungurako tapos ngayon ikaw ay walang kaparusahan. Well, hinay-hinay muna tayo. No? Una, pag-aralan muna natin, pag-usapan natin, ano ba ang sinasabi ng batas para maging state witness. Okay, yung pagiging state witness po, ito mga requirement. No? Kinakailangan po, wala ng ibang direktang ebidensya na magpapatunay ng pagkakasala ng isang akusado at dahil nga dito sa mga flood control projects to, tungkol dito sa plunder na may kinalaman sa pangungurakot ng pondo para sa flood control at sa mga infrastructure. Tapos yung testimonya ng witness, Tambaluslos, kung gusto niya mag-state witness, ay po pwede makorroborate. Okay? Pangatlo, pang-apat, yung accused does not appear to be the most guilty. Ha? So yan ang pinakamahirap na dapat na malusutan ni Tambaluslos. At panglima, hindi pa nako-convict yung akusado sa kahit anong krimen involving moral turpitude. So, isa-isahin natin. Okay? Now, depende kasi, mga kababayan, kung ano ang teorya. Kung ang sasabihin ni Tambaluslos, siya ay sumunod lang sa utos ng Marcos Jr. na mangurakot sa pamamagitan ng mga flood control projects. At kung talagang mapapatunayan yung ganyang utos sa kanya, well, posible na siya ay makapasok as a state witness. So kung ang ating target ay si Marcos Jr. alone at wala nang ibang testigo na magpapatunay na inutos talaga ni Marcos Jr. na mangurakot ng pera sa pamamagitan ng infra projects, may possibility na po pwede siyang makalusot. Dahil tingnan natin itong mga sinasabi ng batas. No? Unang-una, wala nang ibang ebidensya na magpapatunay ng ganyan. Well, kung ang utos ay binigay lang sa kanya, baka nga wala nang ibang testigo magbibigay ng ganyan. Tapos meron mang absolute necessity. Ang issue dito, kung meron pang ibang makapagbibigay ng testimonya na talagang si Marcos Jr. ang nag-utos, ay alam din kaya ni Zaldico yung utos ng presidente kay Specker na mangurakot. Dahil kung nandiyan na si Zaldico, mag-uunahan nga yung dalawa kung sino maging state witness. Kasi kung mag-state witness na si Zaldico, hindi na kinakailangan ang testimonya ni Martin yung Romualdez Jr. Okay? Tapos, yung corroboration, yun ang problema sa corroboration sa utos. Dahil normally, mga utos, binibigay lang from person to person, no? Pero, ang kinakailangan patunayan na ay yung pagde-deliver ng pera. At nandiyan naman yung testimonya na nag-deliver talaga sa Aguado, di ba? So, kinakailangan siguro testimonya na yung pera na dineliver talaga sa Aguado ay para kay Marcos Jr. Now, kung ganito ang teorya at kung talaga magsasalita si Tambaluslos na siya ay sumusunod lamang sa utos ni Marcos Jr., hindi ko ba naman sinasabi na yan talagang pangyayari, pero yan ang teorya, para siya ay maging state witness, baka po pwede. Alam ko masakit sa ating kalooban na pag nangyari yan, walang pananagutan si Martin Romualdez Jr. Pero kung si Zaldico naman ay hindi magsasalita, o di naman kaya kung si Zaldico ay walang ebidensya na talagang pinag-utos lang yan ni Marcos Jr., hindi natin madadawit si Marcos Jr. Di ba? Pagamat, harinawa, sana yung mga pera na pinagdi-deliver sa Aguado, meron pang yung mga testigo na nagsasabi na from Aguado, ipinasok talaga yan sa Malacanang at ibinigay either kay Marcos Jr. o di naman kaya kay Liza Araneta Marcos. Diba? So, masakit sa atin yan, pero kung ang testimonya niya ay magre-resulta sa pagkakakulong ni Marcos Jr., well, lawakan natin ang ating pag-iisip. Hindi na nakulong ang kahit sino sa mga Marcoses sa ating kasaysayan kung talagang ang testimonya ni Martin ay magre-resulta sa pagkakakulong na Marcos Jr., ako, sasabihin ko, go, it's worth it. Pero siyempre, hindi naman yan walang kondisyones. Kinakailangan magbalik din si Martin Romualdez, si Tambaluslos, ng kanyang mga ninakaw din sa gobyerno. Hindi naman po pwede na palibasa, sa ang dahilan para makulong ang mga Marcoses, wala na rin siyang pananagutan. Tingin ko, dapat meron naman siyang kahit papanong pananagutan din. No? Pero ang tanong lang naman, po pwede ba siyang maging state witness? Kanina ang sabi ko, pinakamahirap na lusutan, yung he is not the most guilty. Well, kasi naman, kung ang teorya ay ipinag-utos lang yan ni Marcos Jr. at karamihan ng pera ay napunta kay Marcos Jr. at kay Lisa Araneta, posible rin na sasabihin ni Martin, meron nga akong porsyento pero maliit yung porsyentong nakuha ko kumpara doon sa diniliver ko sa presidente. Diba? Well, in which case, ang issue ng pinaka-guilty ay kung nagkaroon ng conspiracy nga para mangurakot at nagkaroon ng order na pinatupad ni Martin Romualdez Jr., sinong pinaka-guilty dyan? Tingin ko naman, ang sasabihin ng korte, pwedeng ang pinaka-guilty pa rin dyan si Marcos Jr. dahil siya nag-utos. So, mukhang pwede rin niyang malusutan. Pero again, itong possibility na maging state witness si Tambaluslos, posible lamang kung ang target na makulong ay si Marcos Jr. Kung ang target naman ay makulong ay hindi si Marcos Jr. o di naman kaya si Zaldico, tingin ko mahihirapan yan. Dahil lalabas dyan na most guilty pa rin si Martin Jr. kung ang talagang gagawin niyang fall guy ay si Zaldico lamang. Bakit? Si Zaldico, chairman lang yan ng Committee on Appropriations. Hindi naman yan naging chairman ng Committee on Appropriations kung hindi dahil din kay Martin Romualdez. So, unang-una, ang lalabas dyan, most guilty pa rin si Martin Romualdez dahil siya yung boss ng chairman ng Committee on Appropriations, di ba? So, hindi siya pwede maging state witness kung laban lamang kay Zaldico. So, kapag si Zaldico lang ang gagawin niyang fall guy, mukhang mahihirapan siya maging state witness. Mabuti pa, ikulong na sila pareho ni Zaldico. Pero uulitin ko po ang pagkakamali natin sa ating kasaysayan, hindi natin naparusahan ng mga Marcos matapos ang People Power 1. Siguro ngayon, wag na natin silang palusutin. At kung kinakailangan ang testimonya at mako-corroborate naman ito on major points ni Tambaluslos, pag-isipan na natin yan. Hindi naman yan mangyayari, mga kaibigan, sa administrasyon ni Marcos Jr. Mangyayari lamang yan kapag napalitan na ang gobyerno ni Marcos Jr. dahil hindi ko pa rin nakikita na itong si Martin Romualdez ay testigo labang sa nakaupong presidente na kanyang pinsan buo habang nasa kapangyarihan pa si Marcos Jr. Mangyayari lang yan kung talagang tuloy-tuloy ang galit ng taong bayan at tuluyan ng sipain ang mga Marcoses galing sa Malacanang. Ayan, pwedeng mangyari yan. So, pwede bang maging state witness si Tambaluslos? Well, pwede kung ang ipakukulong ay si Marcos Jr. dahil pwedeng lumabas na hindi siya ang most guilty, absolutely necessary ang kanyang testigo, at mapapatunayan ang kanyang katotohanan ng mga sinasabi niya on material points using other evidence such as, but not limited to, sino ba mga nag-deliver na kapirahan para kay Marcos Jr. Magagamit ba siyang state witness laban lamang kay Zaldico? Sa tingin ko, hindi. Dahil lalabas, siya ay more guilty, if not the most guilty, kung Zaldico lang ang target. Okay? Pero mangyayari ba ito sa ngayon? Sa tingin ko, hindi. Yang fino-float na idea na state witness, yan ay kung sakali na matuloy ang People Power 3. At alam ko naman na yang si Martin Romualdez ay nag-iisip na posible rin magkaroon na ng People Power 3. Bakit? Sa totoo lang, masama rin loob niyan. Kasi, happy siya as speaker. Hindi niya akalain na talaga mapapalitan din siya as speaker. So, meron din niya sama ng loob. Kaya ngayon, ang banta niya, dahil nawala ako sa speaker, ako naman ngayon, isisiwalat kong nalalaman ko sa mga kabalastugan ni Marcos Jr. Mark my word, masakit pa rin yan. Kapituko yan sa pwesto. So, hindi yan voluntarily na umalis. Kaya nga, nag-iisip yan ng paraan para makaganti. At kung ang kanyang testimonya ay magre-resulta sa pagkakakulong ni Marcos Jr., ako go na. Dahil kinakailangan talaga makita ng taong bayan na ang mga Marcoses, kapag sila nagnakaw, ay mapaparusahan. Pero ang akin lang, hindi naman po pwede na mabubuhay ng marangya pa rin si Martin Romualdez na hindi nagbabalik ng kanyang nakaw na yaman. Lalong-lalo na yung mga nakaw na yaman galing nga sa mga flood control at infrastructure projects. Dapat ibalik din sa gobyerno. Okay? So, nagmamadali po ako dahil meron akong appointment, pero tingin ko naman nakaka-intriga ang pinag-usapan natin at controversial din ang aking conclusion. Dahil aking conclusion, if his testimony will result in the imprisonment for plunder of Marcos Jr., go ahead. dahil mukhang masasatisfy yung requirements ng rules of court para siya ay maging state witness. Pero kung ang madadamay lang ay gaya ni Zaldico, baka siya pa ang most guilty. Hindi po pwede. Kulong na lang silang dalawa ni Zaldico. Agree ba kayo? Agree? Well, actually, it's not an issue of whether you will agree or not. It's an issue of what the law says. Pero ang importante talaga, para matigil na itong kultura ng korupsyon sa ating bayan, dapat may maparusahan. And ang sinasabi ko, parusahan na natin ngayon si Marcos Jr. Agree ba kayo or disagree? Maraming salamat po sa inyong patuloy na pagtangkilik ha. At hanggang sa muling pakikita natin, ito po ang inyong Spoksang Bayan nagsasabi, I love you Philippines, you're the only country that I have, you're the only country that I love. God bless the Philippines.